Well, I finally hit that point where my knees are killing me, so it is time to install the steps. This goes to the deck. You can kind of see how they work. They need to be 2 inches higher. So one goes there, the other one goes into that slot. What I need to do today is to cut that out so it's going to fit actually in the slot there. Clean up each one of these surfaces, so they have to get the gel coat removed out of them, and then the methacrylate can be used in there. And how it goes is it slots into there once I cut that back, and then along this side it gets bolted in addition to methacrylate bonding in place. And on the far side, so against that, where it wedges into this area, it also gets glassed in there too from the underside. And then from the top, we either just caulk it or fill it in with gel coat if we can find something to match. And then we'll get some nice good surface on there. I don't, again, know what we're going to use for non-skid, if it's going to be like an EVA foam or something, but we'll get that figured out later. For the time being, my main goal is to get it so I can walk up on deck without hurting my knees.
Measuring the depth of the slot with a set of calipers, Matt then transferred that to the steps and used a straight line to connect the dots and give him a good idea of how much he needed to cut off the sides to make the lip of the step. Then, marking how far down each step sits along the transom, he's able to figure out the area where gel coat needs to be removed so he can bond directly to the fiberglass.
Spring is definitely here because now we have all of our insulation out. We've got great lighting coming in, but the unfortunate part, not really actually, is that we're working really hard right now to get all the windows in and kind of close it up, which means it's time to think about lighting for the interior of the boat. So way back when this build started, and of course a lot of things have changed since then, Matt and I thought, we'll just go for really simple lighting. So that makes it much easier because there's less wires to run, much cheaper to do that, and just overall less to worry about. But as you also know, we have been attending a ton of boat shows over the past couple of years, like the Annapolis Sailboat Show, the Newport Boat Show, METS, which is a very big one where we get to walk through thousands of vendors and see what they can add to yachts. through attending all of these boat shows, walking through the displays the vendors have, walking through all of the different yachts on display, we started to realize that the lighting, the interior lighting of a boat, can really make or break the feel of it, because lighting adds so much character to a boat. If you watch other sailing channels, you may have seen Nikki and Jason win with their brand new HH44 catamaran, and HH has done such a spectacular job with the lighting, on the interior lighting, the exterior lighting. It honestly gives the vessel kind of its own personality, and through watching a few of Nikki and Jason's videos where they go through and show what the lights do for the boat, we totally got FOMO and kind of wanted to do the same thing on our boat. So while we were at METS in 2023, so this past fall, we ran into our friend Christian at one of the vendor booths, and he works for Lumishore. So while we were stopping just to chat, we kind of, began looking around. We had been looking at lighting anyway because we knew it was something that we're going to have to make a decision on pretty soon. So he went through the display, and we were just in awe of all of the capabilities of their lights. They have what's called CRGBW lights, and that does the full color spectrum. It does the warm, the cool, everything is dimmable. So after sitting there with the control pad and playing, because you can go every hue of every color, you can go every brightness of every color. They've got downward lights, they've got strip lights, they've got exterior lights, underwater lights. So we started talking to Christian about what we may be able to do on our boat, and luckily through a few months of talking, and after sending them the layout of the boat where everything is positioned and what Max Cruise kind of does on theirs already, we were able to figure out a plan to bring Lumishore onto our vessel too.
Shortly after METS, we sent Christian a diagram of the layout of our catamaran and where Max Cruise at that point was placing their lighting, but using the options available to us through the Lumishore catalog. On the port guest hull, we had requested one downlight for the forward berth, one for the wet head, one for the aft hull space, and one for the aft berth, along with one courtesy light to have on each set of steps. Up on the bridge deck, we were looking to have two over the outboard galley side, two that would straddle the line between the inboard galley and settee, a courtesy light in our little walkway, and then two more downlights over our salon space. In the starboard owner's hull, we had requested one courtesy light for the steps, one downlight for the owner's berth, two for the hallway where our cabinets and hanging locker are, one for the toilet and sink area of the head, and another one for the shower. Looking at the diagram, you can also see red lines, and that's where we wanted to add strip lighting, where we'd have it running along the trim of our galley counters and around the base of the settee in the salon. Christian came back to us with the thought that less is not more. Since lighting really does add to the ambiance of a space, he figured it would be better to have more in case we need them, with the option to dim in case we didn't need them at their full potential. He sent over a diagram with what he thought would be best for our layout. First and foremost is the control panel. This will likely sit at our media station in the salon and give us access to control all of the lights, and most importantly for us, to set modes. Although each string of lights will have its own switches, everything can be controlled from this panel and allows us to set specific modes, such as away, where maybe we only have the cockpit lights on, or nighttime, where it's dimmed lights in the salon with dimmed LED strips. This is also where we control the color wheel for warm and cold whites, as well as our full color spectrum. As we start down in the owner's hull, it's worth noting that every lighting option given to us has CRGBW and dimming capabilities. Christian has upped the downward lights by suggesting two of their DL50 or DL65 lights on our aft berth, the two lights in our hallway, as well as the one for the toilet area and for the shower, and keeping the courtesy light as well. In our guest hall, we added another downward light to the aft berth, removed the one from the hall space, but put two in the head, one for over the toilet and one for over the sink. The forward berth will now get two lights as well. Up on the bridge deck, we've kept the lighting the same in the galley, but plan to move the two lights by the settee further in by the galley. In the salon area, instead of having only two lights, we'll have four. And again, we love the fact that we'll be able to easily control the brightness in here as well as the color of the lights. The rope lighting in the galley and under the settee has stayed the same, but as we get further into the build, I'm also trying to push Matt to add some strip lighting under the galley cabinets as well. In the cockpit, we'll have a set of down lights on each side, as well as a set of courtesy lights on each side of the cockpit sole. And one addition we're really looking forward to on our new catamaran is underwater lights by each step to illuminate the water under the cockpit. Once we've splashed, I know we'll be so happy we paid special attention to the important detail of lighting, as it will help our boat feel a lot more like a home.
Even though we are a few months away from actually installing the lighting, right now is the time that we need to figure out where everything is going to go, because we're going to have to plan for wire runs, we're going to have to plan for where switches are, control boxes, and things like that. So there are going to be multiple videos of where we're featuring the process of us installing the lighting, kind of like testing it out, so make sure to stay tuned as we go through that stage and kind of give our boat that extra little bit of personality.
We're going to get the bolts ready to bolt through this bulkhead. This area is going to have that methacrylate bonding. It's going to be bonded in here as well with methacrylate, and then we'll glass in there. Along this side, it's going to be 3 bolts. So I've got to drill them first, decore it, so get rid of that foam to give a nice big strong area there, and then put the nuts on the other side. Same thing with up here too. Probably need a vacuum over here.
Getting the step in its proper place, Matt took a Sharpie and marked the holes on the step where they met the transom, before drilling the second set of holes on the imprinted area.
Proper how that one's gonna sit. I had to drop this to make sure that this ends up flush with the edge here. I ended up having to drop this section down so you see a bigger gap there, which means I need to fill in it a bit more. That will be fine. That's just going to be, again, the methacrylate and then some thickened resin in there, then gel coat and finish that off. But it's just one of those things you do because it is the same height. This is exactly the same height off of this beam here. On that side, I think this is just slightly different where that edge, that inset is.
Now that the holes have been drilled, Matt needed to backfill them with thickened resin, so it not only adds strength to the area, but also reduces the chance of moisture getting in. After receiving our shipment of methacrylate, as well as going back to re-drill the holes in the transom after the thickened resin had cured, it was time to get our aft steps permanently bonded in place. Both the steps and the surrounding area had been taped off and wiped down with acetone.
Mask on.
We started out with a smaller top step, where Matt used our 2-part methacrylate and a specialized caulk gun to coat the transom with our bonding agent before adding it to the lip of the step, which fits inside the slot. Setting it in its place, he made sure the step was level before coating the bolts with extra methacrylate and sliding them into the holes. Another bead of methacrylate was added to the bottom of the step once it was in place, and we were good to move on to the next one. From the inside, I was there to place a washer and nut on each bolt as it came through into the aft berth. Once they were all in, Matt held the bolts steady from the outside while I went through to ratchet them tight.
Japan.